Welcome back to the FloTrack podcast. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com is our email address. I'm Kevin, joined by Gordon. You can also find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. FloTrack.org/FloTrack podcast is where you can watch us. Good morning, Gordon. It is, I'm going to do the Lincoln thing. It is December 15th. Go.
Do you know what's important about that date?
We're only 16 days from your birthday.
No, we're only 15 days from my birthday, but that's not why. What's today? What is today?
12/15. Oh, a week before the NBA season kicks off.
But today, what is today?
I'm not sure. What is it?
The Philadelphia 76ers make their preseason debut. Big news. They're the last team to play in the preseason against the Boston Celtics. All other 28 teams have played, except for the Celtics and the Sixers. They saved the best for last. Mm-hmm. This is the start of the dynasty. Seth Curry, Danny Green.
All new team every year. Must be fun. Must be fun. Team. Is it bad that I watched a majority of the Spurs' first preseason game and B, am ready to throw the towel in on the season based on the result in that game? That's bad, right?
Yeah, it's really bad. People who watch preseason games need help, I think. Like, you need help, I need help, because I'm going to watch the whole thing. I'm going to overanalyze everything. It's just going to be – it's weird. Like, why are there certain sports fans out there who are so invested and care that they're willing to watch practice? It just doesn't make any sense.
Here's why I watched it. The season starts in a week or a week and a half, so I assumed they were going to be going full go and the starters would get a lot of minutes and they wouldn't be trying to lose. It's not like an NFL game where people are just trying out new things and the starting quarterback plays a couple drives and that's it. Now, by the fourth quarter, it was the bench that was playing, so it wasn't a real game in that sense. But I thought the first half, both teams were actually trying, and the Spurs were getting run off the court by a team that's picked to be the worst team in the NBA, the Oklahoma City Thunder. And the problems that they had were the exact same problems that they had last year. They can't defend the three. So I said, I could chalk this up to just being a meaningless preseason game and them not trying. But it was the exact same issue they had before. But they had two guys out. So maybe I should wait. Derek White wasn't there, and he's great.
Of course. Derek White. He's going to change the whole team around. That's what it is. It's all about the whole league is waiting for Derek White to make his return.
Bubble Derek White was very well. Regular Derek White is good. Bubble Derek White was even better. Keldon Johnson wasn't there either. But it was just the exact same stuff. If it was just some weird fluke where they were missing wide open shot after wide open shot, but it was like the exact same thing that tormented me last year. I say this to you as a warning. Do not watch this game tonight. You're not going to like what happens in this game tonight because you're going to get angry about it. Except you have all new players every year, so it's not the same thing. You can chalk it up to, they're just trying to gel as a unit out there. But me, I don't have that excuse because I've been watching the same guys year in and year out.
For like 40 straight years.
Exactly.
Remember when we went on the Coaches Association / NBA basketball game doubleheader?
I think we're the only ones to ever do that, Gordon. We did Coaches Association interviews in the day, and then we went to the Sixers Spurs at night. It was awesome. That was actually the Spurs' last meaningful win that they got. So I was glad to see it in person. I'm not sure how Jimmy Butler definitely was not trying in that game in retrospect. He had like 6 points or something. And I didn't want to sit in the car with you the whole way back after a Spurs loss. So I was very, very excited that they got the win in any event. Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to do that this year. Maybe we'll get to do that later on in the season. I don't know. When are they playing? Can you look up the schedule? Is there I know they front loaded. Did they put the East games in the first half? That might make it a little harder to do.
No, they still spread it out.
Okay. Maybe something in May. Maybe something in May could work.
Well, we almost were going to be able to go last year. Like, I think they lined up pretty well. But
April. It was an April game. We were on pause
by April. We don't play at all in the first half, so we'll play 2 games in the second half.
Well, the second half could be. Yeah, but when would that be? When are we saying first half, second half is based on the
So second half
new
starts
house?
like mid-March to end of April.
Ooh, okay. Let's get something in April. Let's get
Ooh,
that vac. Let's get that vaccine
if
in
we're
me, and then
there,
we're good to go.
if we ever go
Oh,
to Penn Relays and there's
oh,
like a
well, yes.
Sixers home game against San Antonio, that would be perfect. Penn
That'd
Relays
be.
Sixers doubleheader. That's what we're talking about.
I'll go to any
Didn't
six.
you
They
go?
don't need to just be playing the Spurs. I'll go to any
Did,
Sixers game.
didn't you go to an Atlanta game during the Olympic trials?
We wanted to. There were like four. It was weird. There was like four Hawks games during the time we were there because they had a back to back, and they had a day off, and then they had another game, and we didn't end up going because the schedule just didn't, in terms of our workload, didn't work out. But it was right there. We walked by it a whole bunch of time. We actually saw the Blazers team bus because they were playing the Blazers. Someone told me when I was talking about potentially going, someone who had lived in Atlanta before told me, "quote Yeah, it's not very fun." So that could probably put a damper on things. That was pre Trey Young. Maybe it's a little more exciting. In any event, let's get into the show, Gordon. We have a few things to talk about, and only a few. One of them, your favorite NCAA runner, not named Festus Legat, Quincy Hall, has gone pro after winning the NCAA 400-meter hurdle title 2 years ago now, or a year and a half ago. Now in 2019, he was probably on track to make the world team in 2019 as well too. 48:48 is what he ran in Austin, Texas that year, but didn't end up competing at USA's. He's also really fast in the flat 400. He's run 44.5. So not altogether too surprising that Quincy Hall is turning pro, and I think he's going to be a favorite to make the Olympic team in the 400-meter hurdles next summer.
Yeah, I agree. I like how you have a Rolodex of all my quote favorite NCAA athletes. I do have yeah, it's true. Quincy Hall is someone that I like. Festus Legat, someone that I like. I used to like Peter Callahan. Yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
find one every 2 or 3 years. That I'm all in on. Like this is the one that's going to shock the world. You know, I mean, Manuel Correa was one. I pick.
Yeah.
It's always the one that no one is thinking about who like is a transfer from
Mm-hmm.
like, it's not like the kid who was good in high school and is going to Oregon or Colorado. It's always the one that like is just under the radar who I'm just saying, hey, they're going to come on board and then they're going to break out. Like I wish I would have predicted Yared Nuguse. Like that would have been
Mm-hmm.
my first like true like, hey, I was hyping Yared as a freshman and now he's who he is. But I didn't get on that train early enough. But yeah, Quincy Hall, very good. He was a California community college transfer, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Went to South Carolina. He showed his talent at a young age. Right out of high school, I think his freshman year, he went to USA's, and I think he made it to like the semi. Oh, I'm not sure. Was he at adult USA's or junior USA's? I don't know.
You talking about in
I
17?
called. Yeah, 17.
17, he
Adult.
won junior. He won juniors. He did not win the adults.
That's
He
it.
won the juniors in 2017 in Sacramento.
I like call
Yeah.
I like calling it now adult USA's and junior USA's because I went to a like a Christmas light show cafe in Austin on Sunday night, and they have like hot chocolate, cookies, and all that
Oh,
stuff.
Mozart.
And
Mozart.
Mozart, yeah, and the menu said adult hot chocolate. And when you see the phrase adult hot chocolate, what do you think?
The alcohol's in it.
Yeah, but no, adult just means large. It was like, what? Why are you calling the adult hot chocolate large?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was just
So,
like,
so,
wait.
so
So now I
seniors, you
like
could call
using the
large. Large.
yeah, senior should card large. Yeah. But yeah, he was good. I remember watching him at like the Stanford Invite when he was running for
Mm-hmm.
Sequoias, and he was like running out of his mind. I had
Mm-hmm.
like a little bit of a down sophomore year. Junior year, he kind of started off slow, but then finished high by winning NCAAs. I think this
Mm-hmm.
guy. I know. I wouldn't be surprised if he stays healthy and shows development that in the next 3 years he beats Why is his name going by my head?
I know
What's
the
his
name,
name?
but I'm not gonna say it because it's a crazy take. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna let you say that. I'm not gonna say his
Ryan
name because
Benjamin.
I want to give you
He
time to
beats.
rethink that thought. Nah, come
No,
on,
no,
man. Come
no.
on.
I think he beats
What are we
Ryan
doing?
Benjamin at USA's in one of the next 3 USA Outdoor Championships. Saying it right now.
21, 22, or 23. Yeah,
He will
I will
beat him
not.
in one of those.
I will not take that. But I will
Ryan
say
will not go
his
3 for 3.
his 48 put him 10th last year. So he's a guy who can make an Olympic final next year because we know right now there's this big old gap between the big three in that event and everybody else. And if he can get on that team, he can obviously make a final and potentially even finish in the top 5. It's hard to compare times between meets, but TJ Holmes ran 48.58 to get onto the US team, and then Amir Latin ran 48.66. Hall had run, 48.48, as I mentioned. So he's right there. He's right there in that group. There's still a big gap between that group and Rai Benjamin, about a second and a half at USA's last year. But 4th, 5th, that's not out of the question for him at the Olympics next year.
I just think he had a massive improvement in year 1 at South Carolina. He was due to have another big improvement in year 2 at South Carolina that we never saw because of COVID. I just think he is not a 48-48 guy. I think he's a 47 guy, and we just don't know it yet. And that's why I think he will eventually beat Rye in one of the 3 years.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
That's
Rai
just my
Benjamin's a
take.
46 guy. Rai Benjamin's a 46 guy. So if you're going to make him leap up to 47s, that's fine. But Rai Benjamin's run 46 now.
Yeah, but there
And
was a point when Rye
Rai
Benjamin
Benjamin's
was a
not old
47
either.
guy.
That's true. And there was a point
And
when a caterpillar or a butterfly was a caterpillar. I mean, you're talking about one of the greatest of all time here. Rai Benjamin. Don't be confused because he's going against 2 other greats about how good Rai Benjamin is. The list of guys who's run under 47 is very, very small here.
yeah, but
I'm
just
high
because
on Hall, thinking he's going to make an Olympic team. But you fell in love with him at Sequoias, and now you're falling in love with him all over again, which is great. But now we have actual times and information. You think he's going to improve by a second and a half in a year?
yeah,
Okay.
in 3 years.
In 3
I
years?
said
Okay.
1 of 3 years. It's probably not going to be this year. Could be, but it's probably not going to be. But I'm letting be
But
potential.
it might.
Could be 2022 and 2023. I
Yeah.
just think it's going to happen. I'm sorry. I just call me
Okay.
crazy.
You're on record. You pick
I'm
against
on
USC
record.
a lot. You famously thought Nathan Allen was going to beat Michael Norman in the 400 at
No,
Eugene. There's a
I
lot of
never let that one
anti.
down.
Yeah, that was a tough pick for you. One thing I noticed though, when Hall went pro, and this is something you need to factor in when doing your very, very, very important rankings that are coming up, because you've been talking about how hard it is to forecast, and I think it just underscores it because that's another reigning champion from 2019 that's gone. And when you look and you go through the running events, I'm just looking at the running events here. Divine Ododuru, reigning 100, 200 meter champion, gone. Kamar Montgomery, 400 meter champion, gone. 800 meter champion, Bryce Hoppel, gone. Yair Nagu, 15. We think he's going to be back. Steeple, gone. 5K, gone. 10K, gone. Grant Holloway in the high hurdles, gone. And then a Hall in the low hurdles, gone. On the women's side, you go event by event too. And I think only 1 or 2 will be back there, potentially with the Nellis in the 200 and Anna Cockrell in the 400, 2 USC Trojans there. Just you could have a 2021 outdoor track meet, NCAA track meet, where there's only at most, I think, 3 reigning champions on the track in running events. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's one. I mean, you already normally have a bunch of seniors who are champions, right? But then seniors plus on top of reasons to quit, aka COVID, it just elevates the number of
Home pro too.
pros quit. Yeah, sorry, quit NCAA. Yeah, that's what I call
Quit NCAA, but keep running, so not quitting. Yeah.
Yeah, but you are
The
quitting the
opposite of quitting.
NCAA.
Okay. You meant
You're
going pro.
quitting.
You got it. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you win an NCAA title, chances are.
You quit your NCAA job and you take your new job.
Yeah. So this doesn't surprise you. This popped out to me as wow. That's kind of That's kind of crazy.
It didn't really surprise me that much. There's already a lot of turnover. I mean, you should, dude. There's times when I'm diving in these rankings where like in like a random in like the women's mile or 800, there's only like two from the top 16 that return.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's crazy, and not return because they're all seniors, but like two from the top 16 that make it to
Mhm.
NCAAs. Like it's
Yeah.
like because like you have like years where like someone decides to run a different event, or like they suck all of a sudden, and then like you just it's like wait a minute, there's like no returners in this event. Like the person who got seventh last year is the top returner, and you're like what?
Yeah.
Like that happens a
Yeah.
lot, and you're like, well, the seventh returner we don't think is the best isn't going to win, and it's always like these newcomers who come in and these freshmen and people who just had breakout races who start like showing up. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Uh, Quincy Hall would have, I don't think he had indoor eligibility. So kind of makes sense for him to like kind of take what he can. Um,
Mhm.
doesn't really affect the indoor scene, but hey, Quincy Hall, get the bag. We don't know where he's going though, right? He didn't announce did he announce a brand?
I didn't see. One other thing on this I want to mention though. In years past, we have had, and in recent memory, we've had people like Holloway who have won it since freshman year, and they're just a mainstay. You have people like Alio who were there, and then even someone like Oliver Hoare who won the 1500 a couple years ago, and then still came back. We're missing the like legacy person, the person who won it as a freshman, but it was too soon to go pro, or they won it in a way that doesn't make them competitive on the world scene, so they're going to just stick around. Like we don't have that. We don't have that person going into 2021 in the running events. I don't feel, unless you know somebody.
I feel like people who go pro early, there's like a formula for it. And the people who don't go pro early, there's a reason for that too. I think, like you mentioned, Hoare, Alio, and Grant Holloway,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And why did they not go pro, even though they all won at a young age and kept winning going on? But then you have someone like uh, Donovan Brazier
Mm-hmm.
go early. I don't know. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the reason why Hoare didn't go early is because he was international and he wasn't he wasn't good enough to be like world class good yet at that
Right.
age.
Yeah, yeah.
He's like a 336 guy. He's like, all right, well, 336 is nothing at the world stage. So that's why Alio, she's American, but her times weren't that good because she's, compare her to the rest of this to Emma Coburn. It's like, okay,
Hmm.
you're not ready. And then Grant Holloway, I feel like they were like, well, he's not winning the 100, he's winning the hurdles. So
Mm-hmm.
his value isn't as high yet. He hasn't developed like he hasn't turned the hurdles into marketable yet because he needs to like dominate it, and then everyone's like, "Ooh, this is exciting." Um, I think people who are able to go pro early they have to be good enough to make a U.S. team
Mm-hmm.
in a marquee event, or good enough to win a world medal in any event. So
Shakir
that's why
Richardson
someone like
runs.
Emmanuel Courier can go early because he was good enough to win a world medal. So Nike's like, hey, you'll make it, you'll win, you could win worlds. And
Yeah,
that's why Donovan Brazier's like, you go pro early because you're good enough to make a US team
U.S. team.
in a
Yeah, yeah,
marquee
yeah.
event.
No, I agree with that pretty much 100%. Shakir Richardson, 1075. Boom. Done.
Yeah.
Don't need to see any more. You won the glamour event. You ran a time that puts you competitive for a gold medal. You're gone. Holloway, in retrospect, is the one where you're like, that's kind of interesting. But I think part of that has to do with the fact of he's really close to his coach, and
Yeah.
that was the best setting for him to continue to improve. And obviously, it paid off there,
Kind
and
of like the
he's
Tim
sticking
Tebow
with it.
factor in Florida.
Yeah, build a statue for Holloway. But you and Lincoln were touching on this a bit yesterday when you're talking about what type of high schooler goes pro. versus what type of high schooler sticks around. And I think it's the formula that you just described. If you're able to be competitive at the international level, like Mary Kane was, or like Noah Lyles was already, that makes a ton of sense. But if you're in an event where you break a lot of records, but your times are still well back of where they need to be to make a U.S. team, then the offers are not going to be as lucrative unless somebody's just betting long on potential, or you're in some sort of, you're in the glamour event at the time.
I was talking with a coach. It's kind of counterintuitive, but if you're an NCAA coach, would you rather have someone who runs 13:30 in the 5K, who runs 13:35 as a freshman in the 5K, and by senior year they're running 13:25, so they stay in that 10-second range, or someone who sophomore year or junior or freshman year runs like 13:15, and then it's now like running like 13:10. Like, ideally, you'd be like, oh, you want the faster person, right? But the faster person is more likely to go pro, which means you get that athlete for less time. Whereas you could probably have a 13:30 guy be valuable to you, winning NCAA titles, being a top scorer in cross country. It's like one of those things where being too good at NCAA can actually make you lose the asset quicker, right? Like,
And what the
it's like
coach
you
said.
kind of laughed it off. Like, yeah, I mean, you laugh at it, right? Because it's like, because you don't know, no one ever is going to say publicly that you don't want your athlete to be great, right? Because you obviously do, but it's like there's a negative consequence to training an athlete to be really fast, and that consequence is you don't get to have them in your jersey for all 4 years, right?
But
it's like a weird
but
thing.
But if they get really, really fast, then they win that year, or you win that year. And you want to have that one in hand versus, 3 years of possibilities, because the 13:35 person is.
But say you're like a cross country coach. Would you rather have a guy who you know is going to finish in the top 10 for 4 straight years, or a guy who wins once?
Well, if you could plan it ahead of time, I see your argument. What I'm saying is, if they just win that year and they shock the world, then you're like, well, at least we got that one, right? And then also, I think you can recruit
coaches
better.
are trying to plan out their
Don't
rosters. You know what I mean?
Don't you want that for recruiting? I feel like that almost helps when you get the big splashy freshman who goes there for a year and goes pro. That helps you to get the next superstar, and then you just can cycle them all in.
I'm sure you can think of countless examples of like Dave Smith, right? When he had 2 women qualify for NCAAs in cross country in 2019, and they both finished top 20. Imagine if Sinclair Johnson was on that team, right? That team would have been potentially like a podium type team, having 3 women who could finish top 20. But he decided to make Sinclair Johnson really good. And now the negative to that is,
I think every coach is trying to make their athletes good, or they should. I think that's an assumption I've always had. But no, why did she go pro? She went pro because she won the NCAA 1500. So you trade that NCAA 1500 for her coming back? I don't think so. I don't think you would. I think you'd take that. You got an NCAA
Luis
title out of
it. What if Luis Grijalva goes pro, right?
Mm-hmm.
You lose out on using him next year for NAU, and every NAU loses their number 1 stick in 2021 fall.
Yeah.
It's great for Luis, and it's great for hey, develop this guy who is like a 14 flat guy now. But you're also like, man, it would have been nice to have Luis Grijalva to go up against BYU in 2021 fall, right? They're not losing Mance. Ed Eyestone is keeping Mance in that sweet spot of good enough to be top tier in the NCAA, but not
you think
good
this
enough
is intentional?
to get a
I don't
pro
think this
contract.
is intentional. I don't think this is intentional.
But if you're able to keep, it's about keeping those top tier athletes in the NCAA sweet spot where they're good enough to be valuable, but not good enough to be to lose them. And I think coaches think about it.
Look, they might think about it, but what you're describing is what my dad says is a winner's problem. That only comes because you're really successful. And I think then you're going to get the next Luis Grijalva, and you're going to turn that guy into a 13, 15, 5K runner who's an All-American. And then the success builds from there. There's so many weird quirks of timing in the NCAA of who gets a title and who doesn't, who ends up on the podium and who doesn't, that I just think yes, you plan long-term, and you have the Rob Connor whiteboard that you showed us when you did the workout week with Rob Connor. But I think you also, when you have the opportunity, you need to strike. And even if it means people are not going to stick around as long, it's not on some preordained timetable, you take it because it's just so hard to recreate that. It's so competitive. That's what I think.
Yeah. Like Mike Holloway, maybe he could have still won all of his team titles with Grant Holloway getting second in every race as opposed to first, right? And if he does get second every race, maybe Grant Holloway's value isn't as good. And guess what? Then you get a whole nother year of Grant Holloway in exchange for like losing 1-2 points in the team race. But you get him for a whole nother year. You're trading 2 points for then 10 points his senior year. Senior year, you win it, right? You want them to be their best their senior year, not early, because then it's like you might not get them their senior year.
And I would love to see his reaction. I wish he was on the podcast right now for you to tell him that. Look, you're right. 2 points. 2 points is 2 points. Not a lot. Could be significant. But what is significant is champion versus not a champion. And we remember the champions, and we don't remember the people that got runner-up. Do you remember any of the people who got runner-up to Grant Holloway other than Daniel Roberts last year? No, you probably don't. Right, exactly. So they want to put on their resume, and the athlete wants to have on their resume that they were the champion. And I think that is that's worth a lot more than some sort of future plan down the road that may not work out to them because they can get enough. Yes, it's 100%.
You can't. No, I think Mike Holloway would rather have Grant.
You got 6 titles
Holloway for a senior year. For a senior in exchange to change those 6 titles to 3.
Well, that's not. He was going to go, even if his 1298 was his first title, he was gone because he ran 1298. And that was it.
Yeah, well, he should have got second to Dana Roberts on purpose to lose the value.
You know who else went pro? Daniel Roberts. He would have gone pro.
Think about this. Do you think Grant Fisher ran all 4 years at Stanford, right? He took his time. I have a feeling maybe Milt was all about it's all about slow development, but maybe Milt was like, I want Fisher to be in my number one scorer for 4 years in cross country. So therefore, I'm not going to let him show off as a true freshman and run what he truly can. I'm going to slowly build him up. Maybe Fisher could have been a 13-team guy in his sophomore year. He did win NCAAs his sophomore year, but he held him back time-wise. I don't know. I think coaches.
I think there's an argument that they are doing a slow build and an incremental build, but that's what everybody does at all levels of track and field for the most part. But back to Holloway and just the sprinters in general. If you win a sprint event or a hurdle event at the NCAA championships, you're going to be on a radar for a pro contract. Doesn't matter what age you are. That's just the reality of how competitive it is. So what you're suggesting is a whole bunch of programs are just colluding with one another not to finish first in the sprint events. They're going to run really hard for 350 meters of the 400, then look around at everybody else and not win. So that way they don't get a pro contract. You could also tell them
movie Incredibles. It's like the Incredibles movie with the dad and Dash in the 100. And he's like, he knows that Dash can win, but he's like, hey, don't win by too much. Maybe coaches are like, hey, we need to hold our cards.
They also could advise them and say, hey, you're not ready yet. You're gonna win a bunch of NCAA titles and you're gonna get offers, but you're not ready yet. That's a possibility too. I mean,
I mean,
I know.
we know that like Texas A&M, Pat Henry was not happy that Donovan Brazier went pro, right? He lost out on a guy who was going to be like a stalwart, like a workhorse for him for many years at
Mhm.
the SEC level and national level to be on the 4x4 to score 10 points in the 800. But he got too fast, too quick.
Yeah.
He, and like maybe he's like, man, maybe you should have broke that collegiate record like junior year and not freshman year. Keep running your 146s and then run your 144, 143. I don't
Yeah.
know.
But like, to use them as an example, it's not like they were no longer competitive, and it's not like they never had another 800-meter runner again. They have one of the best 800-meter classes in the country. They have, well, the reigning women's champion and the runner-up on the men's side, and that's my
Okay,
point.
hold on,
Like,
hold on. What year? What year did it was 2016?
yeah, Brazier
Donovan
won in
Brazier, right?
16. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the 2017 Outdoor Championships.
Uh-oh, Gordon's going to recreate these championships. But this is just my point. It's not how it's done. It's like you mid race, they're not like, oh, Brazier's going to break the collegiate record. Let's tell him to slow down. It's just
Okay, in 2017, the year
yeah.
after Donovan Brazier left, Texas A&M got second, lost by 2 points. If Texas A&M had Donovan Brazier, they beat Florida. They would have beat Florida. And I guarantee you, Pat Henry, when he saw this, looked up at the score and saw he lost by 2 points, he was like, God damn it. Why did Donovan Brazier have to break the collegiate record as a freshman? I
Maybe,
know for
but
a
maybe
fact. He won't say it publicly, but they're thinking that, right? Now, again, I'm all pro athlete, so like I'm happy for Donovan. He got his contract, and Pat Henry's gonna be
yeah, what
fine. The Texas A&M program's not going anywhere. Like there'll be another year, and it's not like he needs it or else he's fired. Whereas Donovan, you should get your money when you can. Like his career is a lot shorter than a coach's career. So Donovan made the right decision, but you do know there's a little bit of that coach being like, man, I coached him too fast, right?
yeah. Maybe Florida did Florida have someone go pro
That's a
that year?
perfect example.
You get
Perfect example right
add some
there.
add some points back on. I know, but I'm saying you still take it. You still take it when you can get it because you can't. That's not the way sports works. You can't chart everything out on it. You're just doing Maury ball here. This is what this is. This is a roundabout way to say that the process worked, Gordon. When your first preseason game is tonight, you can't put everything on a spreadsheet. Sometimes it's just the guy's going to be fast or the woman's going to be fast when they're fast, and you roll with it, and then you go from there. And if they leave, you say, "Man, we did a good job with this athlete. We turned them into this," and you move on to the next one and you support them. That's what I think. I think it's insane. I would like to know actually what was going through the head of the coach who you talked to about this when you were bringing this stuff up. So,
Well, it was more
I
going through
mean,
my head, and I was
they
projecting
were
it onto the coach.
they were humoring you, I think is what was happening. Is that what was
Yeah.
happening? Speaking of Florida, you have some transfer news. Is this public or are you breaking this right now?
No, it's public. I knew he was leaving
Oh.
because I remember looking at Florida's roster, and I didn't know where he was going. But Corey Poole, another 400-meter hurdler, transferring to North Carolina A&T from Florida.
Mm.
To talk about Corey Poole, let's see what place he finished last year. He was a point scorer. He was a junior in 2019. So he finished. What was he? So he had a kind of a bad race at nationals in 2019. He finished 17th, but he has a
Mhm.
PR of 50.09, which is not bad, right?
Yeah.
That can
How
make
many
an
years do you have
NCAA
left?
final. I think he'll have 1 year because he was a junior. I think I could be wrong though.
Okay.
1 year. No,
North Carolina
2 years
A&T.
because he was a junior as an indoor. So he has 2 outdoors. He probably has 2 outdoors. So he has 2 years.
North Carolina A&T. They got a squad, right?
They do got a squad.
Did they lose any of their guys from last year?
I think they do. They might lose a couple. I think like Trevor Stewart and people like that, but they'll have some bodies. They'll be able to put together a team. I don't really know, to be honest, like the intricacies of who's like the sleeper, who's like the dominant. It's gonna be really hard to know, like with these transfers, with people Are they keeping their eligibility? Are they not? Who knows? So I
Well, I'm
know
looking at the 20.
Houston is getting a good sprinter. They're getting like this guy who's like a sub 10 sprinter. So that's good. I mean, Carl Lewis knows how to coach sprinters, so that will be interesting. I'm not sure though who has like the bodies. It's going to be another SEC type school, and it's going to be even more of that because I think it's going to be diluted with lack of good distance runners, taking away points and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm
Probably
looking
Georgia's
at.
going to be good out of nowhere, right? Georgia will have like all these field people who've been just like thrown in the middle of COVID being fine.
I'm looking at their roster. Trevor Stewart's still on there. Akeem Sirleaf is still on there. Of course, Randolph Ross was just a freshman last year. And then Jalen Mitchell's pretty good. You throw Corey Poole in there. Now, is it enough to get a title? Probably not. But they're certainly going to have a really good 4x4, and they're going to rack up some points.
Yeah,
Podium?
I'm just not sure what the
Top four?
eligibility is, if it's only indoor or if it's only outdoor, so.
Oh, that's true. So 2021 does not specify how much eligibility they have left.
They might only have
It should be
outdoor stuff like that.
Yeah, it should be required on all these team pages for them to put like their clock up there on their bio. Like, right? They should have their PRs at the top and then how many seasons they have left. Because it is extremely difficult to figure that out.
The worst is when you see just like GR, which means graduate student, like
Yeah.
and then they're a graduate student for like 4 years. Like,
Yeah.
Like I found out that do you know who still has eligibility?
Oh, you told me this. Was it
Yeah.
in Oregon?
Yeah, Oregon
James
kid.
West.
What's his name? Yeah, James West. I was like, he's like, yeah, I still have outdoor. I'm like, what? You were like a grad student like 4 years ago. And I'm like, yeah, I'm still outdoor.
Hey, he should have infinite outdoor eligibility after he got screwed at the West prelim, getting DQ'd for a false start in a 1500. I'm pro James West getting extra seasons because he was robbed of that year. So when are your official rankings coming out?
Not till next
New Year's?
Yeah, I'm not going to work
January
over the holiday,
2nd?
but sometime in January they'll come out. I did post on our site updated who has the Olympic standard rankings.
Yeah,
for
we
US.
talked about that, right?
Did we talk about it? I don't know if we talked. But what's added into it is I included athletes who don't have the Olympic standard, but their current world ranking is high enough that if they finish top 3 at USA's with this world ranking, they would still get to go because even though they don't have the time, they have the ranking. And notable athletes like Isaiah Harris, he doesn't have the world standard of the Olympic standard, but he does have a world ranking that is high enough that he would get picked. People like Ben Blankenship, John Gregorek, Sam Prackle, they have it in the 15.
So that would hold? That would hold until trials?
Well, that's as of your ranking on December 10th. Now, your ranking is going to go up or down in the next few months. So your ranking really doesn't mean anything right now because it doesn't matter. It only matters at the end. But at least it lets you know where you stand at this moment, whether you go up or down. And you will go down if you stop running good times, right? Because your older times slowly fall off your resume as time goes on, right? So there's going to be a point where if you ran a really fast time many years ago, you're going to have to recreate that, or else you're not going to have that data point on in your ranking.
Okay, but heading into the trials, will we know who could go via ranking, or would it still be up in the air?
Here's the thing. We'll know your rank. We'll know heading into the trials. But here's the thing. Your performance at the trials could help or hurt your ranking, right?
Right. And there'd be meets after that, too, that would help or hurt other people's rankings, too, correct?
No,
when is it shut off?
I think it shuts off at the same. I think I don't know. I'm not sure. I've talked about this. Yeah, there are like, what if you get bumped by last minute because some random like man from Morocco ran like 3:30 in a 1500 in like a random time trial and then just bumps you out. Yeah, stuff like that could happen. You hope that doesn't happen. The odds are very rare that one performance in the middle of nowhere could affect you going from 48 to 49. But
Okay.
it gives you at least an idea, right? Where like, hey, I'm in it. I'm in the
Yeah.
quota. It's not official, but I know for a fact that like there's a chance, as opposed to be like, I don't have the standard, I'm out. You know, you at
And
least can hope
USATF
on
will
the.
honor that, right? USATF will honor
Yeah, they
that
said
and
they
say,
would now. They said they're going to use the
okay,
world rankings.
here's my question to you. If we polled 100 elite American track and field athletes, how many of them would be able to tell us their world ranking right now correctly?
Oh, of like all countries or just Americans
Americans. Let's just say Americans.
in all events, their world
Mm-hmm.
ranking.
We just got 100. We just get a random sample of 100 elite athletes. So top 8 in the U.S. We'll say in every event, and we get a random sampling of 100, and we bring them on the pod actually, and we say, hey, before you go, one last question: what's your World Athletics ranking by chance? How many of them get it right?
I bet you only like 8 know.
I was gonna say 5, and the 5 who know would be Brazier because he'd be like 1. Be like, yep, you're right, good job. It'd be the people who are really good.
You're like Christian
But
Taylor, 1?
yeah, it'd be people randomly guessing 1. Now, can you bring up the 800? Bring up the men's 800.
Oh,
I'm
how
actually
about this
curious.
though?
What is Isaiah Harris's ranking? I have no idea. You could tell me 40, I would believe it. You could tell me 6, I would believe it. I have no clue what his ranking would be.
His ranking. Well, here, I bet you none of them know like their actual like score, right? Because you have
Well,
your ranking and then you have your score. I bet you none of them know their score.
no,
So
because
men's
what's the
800.
formula? Yeah,
So Donovan Brazier's 1 with
good. Got that right.
1,422. Can you guess
What's
who's
a perfect
second?
score?
Can you guess who's second? I bet you can.
I mean, it's not. Is it like Ferguson Chariot?
Yeah. Wow. Good
Hmm.
one. Get that one
I
out.
just thought of somebody who ran
Third
a
is
lot. That's
third is Emil Tuca. Fourth is Brandon
okay.
McBride. Fifth is Wesley Vasquez. Sixth is Adam Schott. Seventh is
Hmm.
Murphy. Eighth is Hoppel. My boy Emmanuel
Okay.
Corrier's 10th. It's bullshit.
Well, that's not an insane order. But
And then
what's Harris?
where is Isaiah Harris?
Yeah,
Isaiah Harris is ranked.
I guess he's got to be in the top 24, right? Because that's how you
He's
stay and
26.
get picked. Okay, but you're
26.
saying because people would scratch or fill the field, like he would get to go
Well,
even though he's 26.
I mean, even like Harun Abda, I think, can get in, and he's ranked, and Eric Sawinski. So, like, because you have to, like, it's based off of, like, only 3 per country, right? So it's
Yeah, yeah,
48, I think, field, 3 per country, and
yeah,
then eventually you see where your ranking would fall. Like, because if you take out Donovan Brazier and put you in,
yeah,
would you fill it in? You know. But yeah,
yeah.
Harris is ranked 26, so he has a pretty good ranking.
Who do you think
But
would
like
be
Paul Chalimo's ranked high enough in the 10K, so he doesn't need to get the time as of right now.
who do you think would be the farthest off on guessing their world ranking? Either they guess too high or too low. Because I don't think Harun Abda, that's a good one. I don't think Harun Abda would guess that he technically already has the, like he could go.
Yeah, I mean, I think someone like I bet you Sam Prackle doesn't know that he like is in
Yeah. What
because it's like,
about,
really? I haven't run 335 yet though. You know?
yeah. Where are these? Okay, here you go. Event rankings. I'm going to find one for, now this is, are you looking as of December 8th,
Yeah, that's
2020?
the only ranking that matters, man.
Okay. Yeah, no, okay. So I'm looking at,
How many people know their per date ranking? That's 0.
okay. Because last year, I guess this was midway through the season, and now it's been course corrected. But last year, the women's 4-meter hurdles was all screwed up. But they have Sydney is 9 points ahead of Dalila Muhammad. That's kind of interesting. No, yay. Okay, maybe not. Let's try.
Check this out.
Let's,
Guess guess where Chesarek is the 4th. Oh no, he's the 5th ranked Kenyan in the 10K.
Oh, okay. All right. Women's 15. I don't think Shelby would put herself 8th. I think she would have had herself higher. Jenny Simpson 11th. What's the women's 5,000? Let's see. Obiri, Hassan, Coco, Kiplimo. Oh wow, what? Wait,
You
Schweizer's
gotta
ahead of.
remember, everything they did this summer did not matter.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes
Didn't count.
sense. Okay, that makes
The
sense.
performances between March and December didn't matter.
Yeah, okay. Because as I say, Schweizer's up that high because of what she did in Doha last year. That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I think this is a fun new segment. The next time we have a guest is what is your world ranking? And how many points do you have? Because I don't even think people know the scale. They might say, 9 points. Do I have 9 points? And then you
9
say, no,
points.
I have 9 points. Yeah. Um, yeah. All right. We'll leave it there. There was a good tweet I wanted to discuss that the Bowerman Track Club posted about how many players or how many NFL players it would take for them to score every time on the entire Bowerman Track Club. But we can save that one for later. Because I think Sean McGorty can lower the boom on some people. He can single-handedly tackle most NFL running backs. Saquon Barkley versus Chris Derrick. Who you got? That's what we're going to discuss next time. Email us, though, flotrackpodcast@gmail.com. We need topics. Remember, end of the year awards are coming up, so send in your recommendations for not just awards, but as Gordon mentioned yesterday, categories, things that you would like us to rank. I don't know, best kick, best comeback, best Philadelphia-related sports moment that is not in any way connected to track and field. You can do any of that. Sound good, Gordon?
Sounds good.
All right. We'll leave it there. Thanks, Solon, for producing. FloTrackPodcast@gmail.com. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.